There is a lot of news on the Supreme Court beat this week, so who better to bring in for some analysis than our own chief legal correspondent, Jan Crawford. Jan, it's good to have you here. You know the court very well, and John Roberts, Chief Justice, we don't hear from him very often. He will now be at the center of this Senate impeachment trial. How is he going to shape this?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we may not hear very much from him at all during this trial because his role in this trial is completely different than what you think of as the role of a judge. And in a sense, he doesn't really have a lot of power. The Senate sets the rules, so they have the first word, and they can overturn any of his rulings by a majority vote. So they have the last word. So John Roberts is going to be in this really kind of weird position where he may rule on some related matters or issues, but then the Senate could overrule him if it disagrees.
And now he's stepping into one of the most politically heated partisan environments. Staying above that is going to be tough.
It'll be very tough, and that's why a lot of people said this is a nightmare for the Chief Justice, but it's also an opportunity because it's an opportunity for him to show in this hyper-partisan environment of the Senate that he is above politics, that he is neutral, that he's not taking one side or the other. So he's going to go there as the face of the Supreme Court and potentially see that as an opportunity to remind the American people that judges are above politics. That is his opportunity, and that is also his challenge.
I want to ask you about something else that seemingly was historic this week. Both houses of the Virginia legislature voted to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. Now, a lot of people would say, wait, isn't that already law that you have to treat men and women equally? But actually, this proposal was never amended to the Constitution. You need 38 states, 3/4 of the country to actually go ahead and do it. Why has that benchmark? Why has this country never reached it and gone ahead and amended this in the Constitution?
Well, I mean, that's a great question, right? Because on the surface, it seems, really straightforward. Of course, women should be treated equally in the workplace. Of course, women should get the same kind of equal access that men would. And that was the way it was viewed in 1972. When Congress, with the broad support, bipartisan supermajority of 2/3, approved that resolution and sent it to the states to ratify. 3/4 of the states needed to ratify it, 38 states, and it gave the states a deadline of 7 years to do so. Everyone thought it's going to happen. 30 states passed it within the first year. 5 more got on board pretty soon after that, and then it ground to a halt. And the reason is conservatives started kind of taking issue with certain things, including the issue of abortion. The Supreme Court ruled in Roe versus Wade in 1973 that women had a constitutional right to abortion. And then it occurred to certain activists that this ERA could further enshrine abortion rights in the Constitution. So it became controversial. And there were other issues that activists pointed out on the right that would raise concerns potentially for women.
And you said something important there, a 7-year deadline. So this means it's expired. Congress, is this just symbolic?
Potentially, yes. After this expired in 1979, Congress tried to extend it to 1982 just to give the states more time, and no states jumped at it. So it got stuck at 35. Virginia now ostensibly would be the 38th state because we've had 2 other states recently also approve it. And the House later this month is going to take up a resolution to take out that deadline from the original amendment. But that's entirely questionable whether that's constitutional. Congress passed that in 1972 with 2/3 vote. And now to say that they're going to change it with a simple majority, the courts, I think it's pretty suspect. And they're going to have a huge legal battle on that potentially going back to John Roberts could make its way to the Supreme Court.
And on to your desk, Jan Crawford, thank you very much. We'll be right back.